Hi everyone, welcome back to Job 1 for All, and in this video we are going to talk about loops. So far we have been working in a code that basically starts from top down, and there is no way for us to say, hey, go back, because there's still something that I would like you to do. So with loops we can actually hold our code into a specific block and say keep doing this until you reach a condition that I will tell you which is. So before we start, let's create a new class. I'll insert Java class finally 06 flow. Actually, let's give here the name loop statements 01, and the same PSVM, press tab. Now we do have basically three types of loops: while, do, while, and for. Let's start with while. I think is the most simple, and basically the syntax is just this. As you can see, we do have a compilation error here because, as we saw during the conditional statements if, whatever you put here inside this while must result to true. So it needs to be either a variable or an expression that will result true or false. And basically, going back here, I can do like this with a counter. Let's say I would like to count from 1 to 10, and I would like to print these numbers in the console. I will say here, hey, while counter. As you can see, while counter, it doesn't make sense because this is not a Boolean expression. We need to do something that will result into a Boolean expression. And I can say while counter is lower or less than 10, I would like you to do whatever it is in the block. And in this case, I would like you to just print the variable counter. Now, before you execute, try to understand what is happening. And this is a good exercise for you to always think about what's going to happen before you actually try. So you are just kind of mentally compiling and executing your code before you reach the button to see the results. If we take a look at what's happening here, counter is 0. Is 0 lower than or less than 10? Yes. So just print 0. Then it will go back. And then is 0 lower or less than 0 or less than 10? Yes. Then print 0. Go back. As you can see, this will keep going on forever. And if we try, you will see this being executed forever. Just hit the Ctrl F2 or press the stop button. Now, every time you are working with a loop statement, either while, do while, or for, remember that you need to change the state of the condition of the variable that is inside your condition. In this case, I need to change the counter, otherwise it will keep in this loop forever. There are several ways to do it. For example, you could have something like this: counter plus 1, not plus 21. And then if I execute now, I'm going to see from 0 to 9. Why? Because counter 0 is lower or less than 10. Yes. Then print 0. And then the space in memory that has 0 will get 0 plus 1. 1. 1 is less than 10. Yes. Print 1, 2, and all the way to 9. So when this is 9, what's going to happen? Print 9. And the space in memory that has 9 will get 9 plus 1, 10. Is 10 less than 10? No. If it was less or equal, yeah, it would work. But since we are starting with 0, we want to print 10 digits. And this is what we have here. Now, we could change this a little bit, and it could be something like this, a shortened version. It will work exactly the same way. Or we can even do something like this. It will also work. Or if you want to print from 1 to 10, we saw how to do it. We can use here, and we remove this line. Because now, counter 0 is less than 10. Yes. Then first increment 1. It means that we are going to print 1. And then go back to the condition in the loop. Now we see from 1 to 10. If I add this after, it will first print, and then it will increase by 1, and then it will go back. So we have 0 to 9 again. And the next one, by the way, as the same as the if statement, if you have only one statement inside your while, you can remove the curly braces and your code will work exactly the same way. Highly not advised. Okay. Now, that is another one really similar to while, that is the do and then while. Counter is less than 10. Now, as you can see, if we have something that is false, for example, if I type 10 here, actually, or 12, this condition will result in false. This means that this while will never be executed. But this do while, even if the condition that you have inside the while is false, it will at least be executed once. So as we can see, Ctrl Shift F10, this is not executed. But if I type here, inside do while, you will notice that we do have this statement being executed at least once. And again, the same thing, I could say here, hey, now count is 0 again. But then we are going to have a problem. Which problem? We are not changing the value here. So we can also add here plus, and we can do this plus plus counter. And we will see inside do while 10 times. Control Alt L to format your code. And basically while and do while, it's it. You just have to remember that you are working with booleans and you need to change the state of the variable that's being compared somehow inside your block. And the last one is the for. Now the for statement is a bit different. The while and do while you are probably going to use when you don't have something that's indexed. Let's say I want to go over all the employees until I find the one that was fired December 12th. And you don't know how many employees, you don't know the position, you just have to keep going until you find that specific person. Or there is another possibility that like you have exactly 100 employees and you would like to go over one by one. So when you have indexed lists, probably you will see yourself using a for instead of while. But we are going to see that when we talk about arrays and collections. Basically, this is the syntax for the for loop. And here we have 3 parts. So if I just do this, this will keep going on forever. You'll see, it will keep going on forever. So this is a valid syntax. But now how do we make this more useful? Let me change this to 20 so this will not be printed in the console. So the first part is the variable declaration. It's pretty common to declare a variable that will be used only inside this for block. So this is a local variable, and you will see that most people will just type I as incrementer. And then we have the second part. So since this is a local variable, it's mandatory for you to actually initialize, because the second one is a condition. So for I until, and this is the condition, I lower than 10, and we do have a problem. Why? Because I is not initialized. So we start with 0. So for I starting with 0 until I is lower than 10, what do I want to do? I want you to do this. But then we have a problem. how can we actually stop this? Like, you see, it keeps going on forever. To stop, we just have to use the last piece. That is, I would like you to do that and then increment one by one. So this means that every time the code goes back to the beginning of the loop, the I will be increased one by one, and then the condition will be applied again. And I will put it here, and you will see, Ctrl Shift F10, you have here from 0 to 9. It's not mandatory. If I try to use I outside of the for, I get an exception because it's only valid for this block. And I do not necessarily need to create a variable. I could use here instead of I, counter is the same thing, but I cannot declare again. I just need to use again. And I need to initialize, because if I don't do this, I do have a compilation error saying that this is not a statement. So I can use a counter here and replace I with that, and I will execute. You will see the same result, but here I'm not creating counter anymore. I can use counter somewhere here. You see there is no compilation errors, but it's pretty common to see the way I'm doing right here with I, usually starting from 0 and then going all the way to where you want and incrementing one by one. You could change this. I want to increment instead of one by one, like this, by 2 by 2, and then we will see a different result. But this is the most common case. Well, I think that's enough information for one video. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Bye.